So, welcome everybody to our weekly podcast at Infinite Capital. I'm Jason with Suman here,
Hi everyone.
and today is June the 12th. And today we're going to be talking about scripts. And we're not talking about movie scripts here.
Yes.
We're talking about capital raising scripts, we power team scripts, and we have an audience today where they can
Yes.
ask Q&A. I think this is our first live audience. Right?
Live Q&A.
Usually just do this in a
Yeah.
room and don't talk to anybody, right?
Yeah.
But no, thank you and welcome. So today we are coming to you from our location, Vaughan, Ontario.
Yep.
And I guess we kick it off. I think we started talking about capital raising scripts because in our community, Infinite Capital, people had some questions. And I'm sorry, I missed that one. So maybe you can share what kind of questions are people asking?
So mainly every week at Infinite Community we have live Q&A and where we go through what are the common pain points, right? And majority of the time capital raising comes into picture. So no matter which stage you are, like whether you are starting out or you are advanced or you have raised millions, but everyone says capital raising is the most challenging, right? So that's where yesterday we had a session from where we wanted to share some of the things which will be helpful to you all.
Yeah, I think for me, honestly, it was so nerve-wracking in my first deal. And we haven't been in the game for that long. We'll go through our journey after this live because we have some stations to go through. Why would someone even invest in you in the first place? They don't know who you are. We're just random people in Canada. Why would they trust you? And for me, I think having scripts earlier on would have helped me out a lot. But the great story when I start here is Suman was my first investment.
Yeah.
So he pitched me and he convinced me to invest in him, and that's how I started my journey.
Yeah, and so one of the capital raising tips, few we will be sharing. First is when you are starting out new, we all discount ourselves. I hear a lot of people are starting out. Why would someone invest with me? Right? That's the first thing comes, and what is happening is you're not focusing on the things that you can control of. Rather than predicting or saying to yourself, who would want to invest with me? I would say focus on the things that you can do. So one of the things that I did at the start, I started in 2020 end. Uh, I only talk to people as much as possible, not asking them for anything, but also seeing what they are looking for. So I was talking to so many people, just talking, networking, and sharing just that. What was my conversation? What are the things I'm learning? There was no conversation of money, right? And what was happening is, if I had a good conversation with him and you and everyone, I was suddenly kind of having a database of people where I know what Jason is looking for, what are his goals, what are your goals, and then I started connecting and introducing. So I got the nickname of being a connector. So one of my close friends, he said, you are a connector. At that time, I did not know the meaning, but what it means is you have to be the epicenter of majority of the people around. That's how you build a relationship. So what happened now when I had a deal, then, by that time I had made a close network of people. I just shared, this is what I'm doing, right? And that's where it opened. But had I questioned myself more, oh, I'm just starting out, I don't think I would have reached to where we are, right? So the moral of the story is don't discount of what you can, be active, come in the forums. Like there was a time I used to come in all the events, I still do so, but you have to be visible no matter whether you're introvert or extrovert. It doesn't matter.
And I think our conversation was 15 minutes.
15 minutes,
10
yes.
minutes.
15 minutes.
But it's because for me, I had seen his presence on social media and also others, right, that said, hey, this guy's a connector.
Yeah.
And for me, honestly, one of the reasons why, and do you mind getting the door there? Thanks. One of the reasons why I invested in Suman is because I've got so many references.
Yeah.
And for me personally, one of the ways for me when starting with capital raising and all that too was being an investor first. So my way is I'm not an investor per se as much. I was, and I'm not a connector as much as Suman, right? But I actually learned by doing, right? So if people know that I have some capital to invest in, it allowed me into the network of folks that are sort of lending to each other. So for me, it was, let's try it out as an investor. And then I know, because I play both roles, lend money and have capital raise. So that's how I started my journey around the same time as well. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
So that is the first lesson that, two lessons rather, one is don't question yourself and,
Yeah.
not do the things which we can do, like, take use of all the events, forums. Like I have never met you here, right? But now we never know what relation can form, but at least it's a start of something amazing, right? So give yourself that. And the
Yeah.
second thing, what I learned from Jason is, use your capital as well to, get into the project, learn the things, build relation, uh, and that can be another start as well. So these are the two things
And
so far.
we are in a physical occasion. That's why on this podcast we're doing. I said open the door, right?
Yeah,
But we will do Q&A at the end.
yeah,
We'll talk about the question, of course. But let's talk about for our online audience too.
yeah,
About some of the scripts and things that we
Right.
talk about. Because for me, starting out with 0 doors or even 1 door, you have to dig deep. For me, that worked well is your other successes in life.
yeah,
As individuals here, I mean, real estate investing is a passion, but it's not the only thing you've accomplished. To even get to this point, to be able to invest in real estate, you must have done something great, right?
yeah,
So everyone, I would recommend for those online as well is, you should dig deep into your career. It could be accomplishments and other things as well, maybe extracurriculars. You've done something great,
yeah.
and then sort of dig deep into that. But Suman, what do you think about that?
Yeah. So different investors have different criterias, right? Uh, and the best way is maybe you're starting out in real estate as a new person, but you are not born yesterday, right? You have led a life experience. You are working. There are different strengths. So extract the strengths from there. Like for me and Jason, what we do when we talk to investors, we highlight our banking experience. He has done MBA from a premier institute of Canada. Right? These does show some skill sets and quality, right? And that skill set, there are 10 investor, right? Potential investor. You never know which one appeals to whom. Maybe there are some investors who are past alumni of the premium institute, or they know the power of quality it takes to get into the banking and consulting. Right? But the bottom line is you're extracting it. Like even if you have zero property right now, but there are ways where you can build your credibility. If someone is in a top MBA school, for example, definitely they have some skill sets which, that's why they are there. So real estate is not a separate thing. Of course, you need to understand the deal analysis, deal flow. Those are the specific things. But there are also good skills which you can bring over. Like for example, one Noor, his unfair advantage is he is working with some big construction people or big development, firms. That's his unfair advantage, right? And now he can extract the knowledge from those and impart, because Jason and I, we don't have that kind of exposure or
Yeah, I
experience.
think it's
Right?
just to say
Yeah.
that. When I looked at Noor's post, and he's, I
Yeah.
think, on a crazy, large, high-density project under construction.
Yeah.
All you need to do is, here, Mr. Investor, look at this.
Right.
I'm standing here. I'm on the site. I'm on the team. Invest in me, right? Even if I only have 3 doors, 5 doors, I'm a part of this large project, and I have a lot of contacts to give me confidence. But also, he took a good video, so it was
Yeah. And one question yesterday we got in our live session was, Suman, what do you do when you go and meet people at the start, right? So for me, little bit advantage. So I will explain you two scenarios from capital raising, right? So one of the advantages, like active on the social media where I'm not raising capital, but sharing value, sharing the updates of the things, right? So what happens when people meet me for the first time? There are high chances they've already gone through my content, and then they are doing the conversation, or they already have some idea about what to talk about. So some of the questions that are, hey, how is your New Brunswick project? Or, those
I
kinds
think I think that for you is the Newfoundland project.
Newfoundland project,
Right,
right?
when I
So
first
they
talked
know
about it.
where we are.
Yeah.
How that is happening is through the social media presence. So I'm not raising capital there, but I can using it to add value, updates,
Yeah.
or even helping each other.
And
Right?
it's a reason to reach out to us, right? Because
Yes.
people see what we've done. But anyways, from a script point of view,
Yeah.
I think people are very interested in scripts.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say we're starting out.
Yeah.
And we can try it both ways because everyone has their own style, right?
Yes.
and let's say I have capital.
Yeah.
Let's say I have $50,000 because that seems to be a round number these days,
Yeah.
right? And you're going to pitch to me a deal.
Yeah.
I hate to put Suman on the spot, but he's experienced. He can do it.
And again, like,
how would you pitch to me?
so mainly I will ask, like, what brings you here? Like, what is interested in you?
My RSPs gave me a negative 1% return last year,
Right.
so I'm going to do better than negative 1%. So.
Got it. So would you be okay if I have some projects where definitely, like, there is no guarantee in investments, right? Any investing has risk. Would you be comfortable if there is a potential to get something better than -1%?
Anything zero is better than negative
Zero is
1%,
better,
so,
right? So-
I might be interested.
Got it. And are you looking to be a partner or a private lender? What is your goal?
I want passive,
Okay,
so probably just an investor.
got it. So what we would recommend is in Canada, like, you can use your registered fund since you said you have it in registered funds.
Yeah.
Have you heard about, how to deploy, or you want me to walk through the process of how it works?
I've read about your other projects before,
Okay,
and I'm interested.
nice.
And yeah, I don't need you to walk me through it. Just
Okay.
what projects do you have that I can?
Got it. So currently we have a project in New Brunswick, and there we will probably, because you are a registered fund, you cannot be a partner. You can do it, but we need to have a fund and naturally there. But right now we are looking for private. As you said, your goal is to be a lender.
Hmm?
And so there is a company called Olympia Trust, one of the trust company, where you have to move the funds there, and from there you have to, they will evaluate us, and that's where you can come in as a collateral. So good part about registered fund is it is collateralized, or there is more security, right? And second, we would advise is we don't like to give you tax and accounting advice and legal advice. So we would request you to have your own independent legal advice as well. That while we will make sure all your things are taken care, and but always we recommend people get your own accounting advice and get your own legal advice. And as I said, there are no guarantees in investment. We definitely try, and always there is a risk involved. So are you aware that this is still an investment that involves risks?
Yeah. I don't understand much of what you just said.
Okay.
So, but I just wanted to get more than negative 1%.
Absolutely.
Will you help me walk through the process?
Yes.
Do that?
Absolutely. So while we target like a double-digit returns, for our investors, and especially with private lending, it is more predictable. What I mean by predictable is because you will be getting, like, not in this case, you will be getting not monthly cash flow in your account because it's a registered fund. So what will happen is usually we have something about 10 to 12%.
That's better than negative 1.
Yes, it's better than negative.
Yep.
And what is important is, so every time, like, one of our investor, they are getting way better returns than what you just said.
Mhm.
They were in a similar situation.
Yeah.
And that is what our objective is. Like, how do we make sure our investors' money is secured? Number one. Second, how they are getting better returns. And because we want to do more business with you. So if you are happy with your first instance, naturally you will, not only do more business with us, you will also be, recommending your friends,
Great.
So that's what is. So the first step will be, work with Olympia Trust. We can help you with the process we have done with multiple investors.
Mhm.
And from there on, you will have your own lawyer as well and go for your own accounting advice. And we will have our own lawyers so that, there is no conflict of interest. And they will be mostly helping with all the procedure, and it will be secure, as I said, right? And within 1 year, like 1 year is the time frame where we usually go for, and then you can reevaluate whether you want to renew.
And so you're saying secured.
Yeah.
So to give, because I'm kind of nervous, never done this before,
Yeah,
but
sure.
does that mean that if you guys mess up and it fails,
Yeah.
I at least have security on the property, your New
Yes.
Brunswick property?
Yes, you have security through. So
Okay.
just like a bank, you have a much better security. So bank usually is more secured, but
Yeah.
the thing is usually Olympia Trust. So one more thing that came into picture is you will be putting up to 90% loan to value. So let's say a purchase price is 100,000 or the value is 100,000, we can only go up to 90,000 value, right? So what I mean by that is, let's say we mess up or, there are some hardships with us. You have the power to, recover your money by, the power of sale. So why?
10%, I get that. We'll pause there. Thank
Yeah.
you. I mean,
So this
we
was
can go
just
on
for
forever.
you.
So I
Yes,
mean, for us,
just to, give you the idea, these
yeah,
things.
our live audience is first
Yeah.
time doing this. Good job.
Yeah, and even I did not know. So, the thing is, this is what will happen in the real life, right? You will not be having a script where you can read, right? But the main idea is try to ask questions to evaluate their situation, their goals, their pain point, their concerns, right? So what if you see here, I was seeing is, I was trying to understand. It was a two-way communication, number one. And then I was trying to extract whatever was his pain point, his objection, what was his goal, like why is he coming in the project, right? What is his motive coming behind?
Yeah.
Because it's not about us, it's what the investor is looking for, and can we meet it? Like let's say they said, I want 25% return. Maybe this project we cannot fulfill, right? It's understanding and coming to a mutual agreement. And as you see, I told that you will get many questions. Oh, what should I set up a corporation or should I do this, that, right? One thing you need to tend is tell that, we are not authorized. So if you see, I told him,
Yeah.
go for your own legal advice. It involves risk. Like, as a partner, it is our responsibility to tell them that, look, we try our best, but, at the end, this is another investment. They need to know the risk and, there has to be clear disclosure, documentation, working with the right team.
Yeah.
So these are very essential.
I was going to say
Some questions?
say that.
No questions or later?
Oh, after we'll do after.
Okay.
But I was going to say just to finish that thought too is that confidence is key. Right?
Yeah.
And I think for our approach, we typically try to outline all the risks up
Yeah.
front, completely transparent.
Yeah.
Be cautious when looking at investment opportunities where there's no risk, where they say this is a guaranteed thing, don't worry,
Yeah.
right? So for us, we take the approach of, we've done this many times now,
Yeah.
and here are some risks, but at the same time, we help mitigate those risks with, Suman talked about the loan to value, like 90%, so that 10% buffers is what that means is if the project devalues by 10%, you still got your whole investment there, opportunity there. But also, sometimes I inject too is, and for first time investors or even capital raisers, what is your past experiences? So you talked about the banks, right?
Yeah.
You talked about how, if we don't do well in this project, we may have backup, like another project that we can pull
Another
from as well.
portfolio as well.
So as you build your portfolio, that helps a lot.
Right.
And,
So
yeah.
your risk mitigation, what are the thought process, how you're thinking from your investor perspective?
Yeah.
Like, if you have a full-time job or if you have some savings, you're like use the things which will, help the investor get more confidence, because at the end, it is very important that their capital and their returns. Returns is fine, but return of the principal amount is more important. So that is like, what is the exit plan? And the more plans you have, the better it is, right?
I think the next topic that we go on to is, once you have that network, which I don't have, it's also building your team, also know what your role is. So for my role, I'm not a connector, but Suman came up with the name as firefighter, right?
Yeah.
So when you do have a pipeline of deals and you do going through the whole lift, burr process, exit, etc.,
Yeah.
you're definitely going to run into issues. And I remember in our first couple of deals, Suman would only call me when there's something really bad happening.
Exactly.
So it's like, oh my gosh, I need to call. Right?
And depending on the situation, and that's where, working with people is very important, and right people, good strengths to come, right? So because there will be challenges, many places where we find very surprising.
Yep.
People just think that, they are made to believe that real estate is a rosy path. It is not. Like, it is so challenging that, other things in life will seem very easy for you, right? But not to scare you, but to tell you that You have to work with people who are giving you both the sides. Like if you saw even in the capital raising, like we are not showing the rosy world to investor. We are telling, look, we can get to better than what your investments are working, but that doesn't mean there is absolutely no risk. There's nothing called as zero investment risk. It never exists.
And same thing with like the things we run into. So when we run into issues, whether it be, and we'll talk about, well, since you talk about New Brunswick, we can talk about how I actually had to fire.
Yeah.
Remember that? When you were so nervous?
Manager.
He's like, oh my God, I'm going to call the firefighter.
Yes.
I don't know why he gave me that name, but okay, thank you. And said, can you please fire this company? I'm like, okay, that's my job. So we had to fire our property manager. And that was a bit nerve-wracking, right? They were managing our 10 units. They had our keys and they had our tenant information and everything, right? And we had to fire them. Right?
Yeah.
And I remember that, when we went to it, we were pretty straight. I think all it said was, unfortunately, this is not working out because of A, B, C, D, E, right? And, we would like to terminate our agreement. Now, the great thing is that it was quite mutual. They were okay with that, right? Yeah. And over time, the transition worked well. And I think I approached it as, we are starting in this new region, right? We are looking to see if there's maybe a better fit in this project. I would like to keep in touch, right?
Yeah.
So there may be other projects down the road. And you know what? We made the mistake, we can talk about this another time, of using a property management company that had very little experience, right? Yeah. We thought, hey, we'll save a couple of percentage points of expenses. Yeah. Try this out. It was a mistake, but it's okay. But I did exit that relationship and not really firing them by saying we'll defer and revisit maybe down the road when you have more properties under your belt or success stories, and maybe we'll come back together.
I think one thing that we have learned, whether it's investor, our team, more than the experience, I think, we had seen bad people who are ultra rich, like 100 times more rich than us. They also performed like, did bad. And there are new also. So more than your experience, of course, experience. But what I've seen, measure the intention of the person. That is very important. You may not know, of course, but that should be your first deciding factor, then the experience. Because we have seen both ways where, mostly some people were new in whatever they did bad. Common element was they don't have the right intention to serve their clientele. And some people were ultra rich too. We were shocked, but even they were disastrous. Vast experience. So that intention is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? I mean, we've gone a little long in our half an hour per se.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll just start with the Q&A. We'll come back to it. So I think we had some questions in the room, which is
a new thing for us. For the question.
So I think Evo has a question. Yeah.
Yes. One question for me is there like a maximum percentage that an investor may expect? Because for instance, if there is a novice like investor going for first time, they may expect like 20% return, 25% return. So is there something like if they come to us and say, okay, guys, we want 20% return, is there a way so we can explain what is the maximum they may expect from real estate investment?
Yeah. So the first thing has to be like, again, let's say the investor is asking even 50%, for example, 50, right? But if the project is not sustainable, I mean, you are desperate to get that, and that's the tendency where we say, okay, this is my first investor, I need to get the money anyhow, right? You get into that, but then the question comes, how are you going to pay for that, right? Because there are going to be more, hassles in a project than, everything penciling up, right? So the question you have to ask yourself that even if you want to get that investor desperately, how are you going to sustain them? Number one. So mostly we would say first go through the deal and how much that can sustain, right? And if it cannot sustain, if it's a temporary thing, you need to, see how are you planning to perform, right? That's more advanced strategy. Ideally it should be coming out from the deal, right? But if you are still, desperate, that is more you're entering into the advanced, because now you probably are using some other income resources of yours to supplement. But the question is that is adding pressure on you and the deal, right? So you don't want to jeopardize that.
So that to it. Yeah. And for me, my role I play really is problem solver firefighter. Yeah. So let's say this person, Evo, you want him on board because maybe he or she brings additional value beyond just being an investor, right? Because they also could be a connector like Suman.
Yeah.
They might have great experience in other portfolios that maybe access to, so maybe. So instead of thinking about 50%, let's just use 50% return, a ridiculous number return. Instead of thinking of that as a immediate, like a private investor, month-to-month return you're expecting, could potentially bring them on as an equity partner, right? All right. We're talking now about different partnerships. GPLP stuff. We won't talk about today. But at the same time, they can get their 50%, but not immediately. If when we enter the deal, they can get that 50% because the deal's awesome. But at the same time, you're appeasing them because it could add a lot of value to you in the long run. So
it's not very straightforward. Like, again, if it's 50%, you just can't say, okay, you want 50%, take it. No, you have to plan out, and that's where
I wish I got
and that's where your underwriting, your analysis, exit plan has to map those things out.
No, my main probably concern is, let's say they're doing this for the first time, so they don't have the idea, so they come and say, okay, we want to invest here, but what will be the maximum that we can get? We have no idea. We haven't done it so far.
Right.
So is it 20%? Is it 30? Or is it 10?
I think he wanted specific number.
The only challenge is why it's not specific. Reason being, first, this is all subject to your negotiation, number one. So there is not plain blank. Okay. But what I can say is, it's usually in the between 8% to 20. That's the main thing. But again, like, don't just pick any number and just say, okay, you want 16, but it has to map out somewhere, because that money has to come from somewhere. Right. So the question you have to ask is, okay, you want, let's say Dimitri says, okay, I have 10,000, I want to maximize my return. I'm a new investor, I don't know anything. Then the ball is on your court, right? Right? You as an investor who is raising capital, you guys cannot say, okay, I want to give you 6%. That 16% has to come from somewhere, right? So the question is from where it builds out. If your number is not mapping out, then that's pressure on you.
And again, to my point too, is sometimes I like, now in my we'll go around later, right? But originally I always thought that self-isolation, I'll do everything myself. And thinking about, I'm going to give you a month-to-month return and that's it. But these days I'm more about collaboration. So if you can bring this investor on board, right, to be part of the team, to say, hey, you know what, I can't give you a specific number per se, but if you join us on the team as a equity partner, right, we as a whole can get a larger number, that makes sense, and also you're going to be contributing, so your efforts and our efforts together, so win-win, right? And that'd be more attractive too, because these days, if someone says, and I think I had we'll see it later, I have a 27 unit portfolio in one specific region, Alberta. The only reason why I went into that is because I was offered a big chunk of equity. Didn't get any money for it, but now I have equity in a portfolio where now I'm investing into that region, learning the power team, and actually making that lift. And I'm okay with that. I don't have a percentage return in mind, but equity, amazing. And we can talk about it later.
And that's why you have to ask your investor what they are looking for. Some people want to come on board and they want to understand the thing. Right? If they just want to be passive, then there are some regulations you need to work with. So, the securities lawyer, they are expensive. So you have to make sure you're working with them, making sure you're complying with the rules. So we turn down many investors who are asking absurd numbers, right? Because they will want anything. Their goal is to make sure they get the best return. But the question is, how much can be sustained? Right?
And because there's a lot of things, a lot of value you can get from not just your dollar return, right? You can also get net worth improvements, right? Your equity holdings and all that. But Steve, have another question. I think we have time for maybe 2 more questions.
Yeah, Chris.
So you told that you went to some equity partner, right?
Yeah.
So when they present the deal to you, like how you make the decision that is your right to do? I mean, what percentage is, there must be some basic, you need to.
But who is the investor and who is the managing partner?
Oh, yeah. You know what I mean?
So for me, I am an investor per se, right? Someone has a deal, right? And said, we want to bring you on board as a GP. Because you have, so for me, at this time, I already have a portfolio of 3 digits more, right? And they're like, okay, you have experience more than us. We'd like to bring you on board. Now, if your question is, how much equity precision do you think it makes sense for me to spend time in the deal? Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Or is it from an investor to say, I have 100,000, right, Chris? And how much equity should I get for that 100,000? Which scenario you're talking about? For my scenario is I put $0 in. It was just my time, right? But I'm okay to take, my time and get 0% return because I time for something too, right? Because I know the equity there instantly will improve my net worth, but also I feel the deal itself, when I look at the deal analysis, right? The exit strategy, it's worth my time, right? So my concern might be different because I think you might be talking about if he has some capital, you're trying to get some equity, right?
And Chris, like there is no like a pinpoint answer, like, okay, the moment it touches 5% IRR, that's the criteria.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen. So you have to talk to individual investors.
Yeah.
And you just present the deal and then they have to decide. So we never pressure our investor because at the end it's their decision. And there is no like a magic number like, okay, 5, while we do make sure it has to be maximized, but there is no like magic number. We have seen people who have come on board with us even at 8% as well. If it's a private lender, there are some investors where we have come at 68%, right? But those wide variety comes only through discussion, the project. One of the project we had massive, cash flow, massive equity. There we have more, opportunity to give on the investor, right? But maybe the another deal is very.
So, and we should round that off, right?
Yeah.
It also depends on the deal size. So I had the opportunity to look at a Texas 144 unit deal.
Yeah.
Where they said, we'll offer you equity as a part of your, involvement and maybe some investments. Guess how much percentage I got for like investment?
None of them.
1%?
Yeah,
Less than
less than
1%?
one. Yeah, that was
That's a 144 unit opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So I can't give you a percentage, right? Because if I have a deal that's only $2 million in Canada, well, obviously that's more than 1%, right?
And sometimes from our lens, we think it's a powerful deal, but it doesn't go well with the investor. None of the investors were interested, and that's fine. So one of the things we all have to learn is there will be massive rejection. Like the more than your success in capital raising, there will be 95%, 99% failed. And that's why the more you have, this organic reach, value addition, coming, getting to know people, uh, that's where it's going to look better because you will have a bigger lead flow, more deeper relation with people, right? So there is a lot of work that goes through the initiative.
Just want to be cognizant of people's time. One more question. Any other questions?
Anything, Noor, you,
Any other questions?
Dimitri, anything, what, we would love to have something from you, like what is anything that's,
Like I don't have specific questions.
anything in general about real estate, not specific.
Well, for this podcast, we can do Q&A afterwards, maybe, in general. But
Yeah.
if you don't have questions on capital raising, that's okay too.
Yeah, I wanted to like get new ideas and listen to smart people.
Absolutely.
Just get
Okay.
some more knowledge.
Well, I'm not sure if you're smart, but
We're just done it. Well, thank you so much. I want to close off this podcast now.
Yes.
I'm going to clean 40. We'll edit this out.
Yes.
It's too long.
Yeah.
But thank you all. We will follow up with everybody next week. Where I know we don't have an agenda yet. But we'd love to get people's comments on today about some of the. I kind of pressured my partner here, so he wanted to do it on the fly. But thank you all, and see you guys next week.
yes. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Join the.
Bye.